Hello, everybody. My name is Johnny Kocher. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm one of the solidarity leads and hub coordinators with Sunrise Movement Bay Area. I'm excited to be here today to discuss about the Green New Deal, what the Green New Deal is all about, what Sunrise Movement's about, different policies on the local, statewide, and federal level around Green New Deals. Sunrise Movement's about 2 years old. We were launched right after the People's Climate March in 2017. We've been, our probably biggest claim to fame has been the resolution that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez released first back in November and then later on in February with other congressional members on a resolution to establish the need for the federal government to draft and create a Green New Deal. So the quote-unquote Green New Deal is not a piece of legislation, it's not a bill. It's essentially a non-binding resolution that is kind of acting as like a push for the public to push their represented officials to actually do what we need in order to battle the climate crisis. So we want our elected officials to actually start planning for how we can move into a sustainable economy, a green economy in which we deal with carbon emissions and do full electrification of our grid, decarbonize our agricultural systems, transportation systems, and do it in a way in which we center the historic economic inequality that's occurred for frontline communities and have a just transition for both fossil fuel workers and for frontline communities. So I personally am a labor climate activist. I do a lot of work around trying to push for a just transition. And when I first learned about the Green New Deal, I was really excited about it because I saw that it had a lot of aspects of what a just transition could look like. And that it's pushing for radical climate legislation, like what we actually need in order to stem the climate crisis. But it's also addressing the fact that we don't want to leave anyone behind in that economic transfer. The federal resolution is not a piece of legislation, it's more of an outline. It is the actual legislation, which will likely be a series of bills, is being drafted in parallel with a group called New Consensus, which is working with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office, and the Sunrise Movement is in conversation with them nationally. So we are, as an organization, have been pushing for solidarity partners and different people to get their different affiliated groups to endorse the federal resolution so that we can continue to apply pressure to our elected officials to actually do what we need to do. On the Sunrise Movement Bay Area has also been very interested in what it might look like to do more of a local or statewide Green New Deal, like how we can support efforts around that. Personally, I'm a believer that the only local communities are going to know what solutions they need to do in order to actually enact the ideas of what a Green New Deal would be. If it comes too much from the top down, it's probably not going to work. But the idea of having a radical transformation of our economy towards a green economy and doing it in a way in which we address economic inequality and create a just transition for workers and for frontline communities is something that you can do at the local level or statewide level or federal level. You don't have to do it at the federal level. And that's actually kind of another one of the awesome parts about the Green New Deal is the fact that it's the fossil fuel industry could easily take down one big initiative at the federal level if they just concentrated all of their power, because they have a lot of power. But what's kind of happening is it's kind of blowing up into 1,000 mini Green New Deals all throughout the country. and they're gonna have to play a lot of whack-a-mole in order to really deal with it, because it's like being spread out everywhere, and like people are like grabbing all these different concepts of what a Green New Deal could be and trying to enact it at the local level. And I think that that's amazing, honestly. There is a little bit of a personal worry that I have, and some other organizers I have with Sunrise Movement, that could easily lead to a co-opting of the message of a Green New Deal, which is something we need to be highly aware of when someone's saying like, I want a Green New Deal and it is like cap and trade or something, and it doesn't go very far, then that's not something that we should all be organizing around. So we have to be smart and who's the organizations or affiliations or coalitions that are trying to put together what they believe should be in a local and statewide Green New Deal, and just ensuring that the voices of frontline communities and of labor groups and of groups that have been doing environmental justice and racial justice for a really long time are involved in the process of the drafting of what that looks like in the very beginning, so that we ensure that it actually has the justice component that makes it something that I think inspires people, and not just having a technocratic solution which may appease certain like analytical minds who are so far removed from the actual everyday experience of people who we actually need to be helping and providing a pathway to a just transition. I know that there are some folks working on the California Green New Deal. It's still in its very beginning stages, and I'm very excited to see what it might look like. So once it's kind of formally released and the coalition of partners start releasing what that outline might look like, then Sunrise Movement Bay Area, and I'm sure a lot of other groups will be assessing it and then deciding whether it's something that we want to be throwing our weight behind and sponsoring. And then I even heard of recently of an idea of a Bay Area Green New Deal, which is focused specifically on transportation, but it's basically taking a regional transportation measure that's going to be coming up in 2020 for $100 billion to essentially completely radically transform our transportation grid throughout the Bay Area, from through our train systems, BART, the ferries and buses, and just kind of integrating them all into one seamless transportation system under the moniker of a Bay Area Green New Deal, which we'd have to see more details of before we can support something like that. And I'm curious to see what the justice components would be like, kind of integrated into it. But from the beginning conversations we've had, it seems like there's a lot of excitement from labor unions, which is exciting. So yeah, I could talk about this all day long, but I think I might be at 10 minutes. So go ahead.
That's good.
Stop.